Well, welcome to the Scaling Tech Dojo podcast. I'm your host, Mark Morman, and today my featured speaker is Prem Talreja. He's the CEO at Lunagen and runs a very interesting software company. It's a decision to execution sprint, and I'll let him talk more about it. But what they do is they help domain experts know if their software idea should exist before spending money. What a great idea. And
Yeah.
with that, I'm going to turn over to you, Prem. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for introduction and everything. Yes, you're right. I obviously uh, built up Lunagen AI as a company that would help in the AI generation to help business owners and entrepreneurs to take their ideas into execution. And I learned this actually, of course, over many years of my work as a VC. I come from a technology background. I spent a large part of my time in developing products and marketing them and selling them. And I've realized what sells, what doesn't sell, why good products fail because of bad marketing, or bad products do extremely well because of excellent marketing. But you learn over time that de-risking a project or success is very fickle, and you have to give it some thought. And you can't guarantee success, but you can improve the chances. So what happened last year was I started Lunagen, and I began to, and I've been in venture capital as well, I should say. So I saw a number of companies we funded do extremely well, and some that we thought would do very, very well didn't as much. So there's so many unknowns and so many things that went into my head, and saying that at this stage of my life and journey, I really think that I have skills that can help people. And if to some extent I can monetize them, that would be great. So I started Lunagen last year, and we developed or helped three entrepreneurs develop products. One was a medical doctor, one was a lawyer, and the other one was an HR executive. And as we developed those products for them, initially we just went into developing, saying, oh, wow, this is great, let's develop it. And we had some engineering resources, so we started developing. But very soon I realized that that very idea actually was not set up for success. Even though we were developing it, we were uncovering hurdles that were both business hurdles as well as technical hurdles. Technical hurdles, no problem. We can handle them. We like those challenges. We can fix those things. But we were learning about business hurdles that in the end would mean that those investments that the founders had made may not see the full result. And that's when I stepped back and I said, geez, I wish I had spent more time earlier on in this opportunity to really pressure test the idea better for the founder.
Yeah.
And that's when the idea came to me that, I'm not going to take on any new projects before pressure testing them. And I don't care if I ever end up executing them, because the execution can be done anywhere. And with AI, there's so many areas where people say, I can do it myself, I can get it done here, there. So that's fine. Go get it done. But let's pressure test your idea. And let me get compensated for doing that. I'm not the only best guy in town to do that, but
Yeah.
I found that a lot of people don't do it. So having somebody on your shoulder to look over your shoulder for a little bit, for a month, would be helpful. And that's how Lunagen came about.
Well, it kind of sounds like it's, some product market fit type. I mean, is how close to, I mean, it's got to be related, pertinent, right? Is in that vein, right? I would think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is in that vein, but it starts a little bit earlier than that also, but it does come down to that. Uh, that can be a little further down, but what happens is that a lot of times entrepreneurs just come up with an idea, and so either the idea is too narrow or it is too wide. You're trying to boil the ocean, or it's very narrow.
Yeah.
So you end up questioning that through techniques that we have learned in business school. Okay, uh, I mean, and in business, I would say. So there is the classical model of you know the various forces that work against you or in favor of you. So there's a forces analysis, that what is the force of a competitor, the force of a newcomer, force of the customer, force of the supplier. So
Right.
you pressure test it with that, saying, do you understand what the supplier's force would be if you're making a piece of hardware, or do you understand what the pressure of the customer will be on you? You can't control the pricing. The customer may have alternatives, and there are incumbents in the market that you're trying to compete with, and there could be new entrants that you don't know about. So those forces are one thing. There can be regulatory forces. So that's one thing. The forces. Then comes the area of the classical SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
That's just
Strengths
what I
are
was
not,
thinking of. That's what made me think of it when you
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
and SWOT analysis often is misunderstood, right? Because strengths and weaknesses are internal, threats and opportunities are external. Sometimes just people just say, "Oh, have you done SWOT analysis?" "Oh, yeah, I did SWOT analysis." But a strength doesn't become a weakness. You can't say my strength is this, but that opposite of that is my weakness. No, you have to identify your strengths and your weaknesses, and those are your internal, and you can control them. And that's a little bit of a study of where you stand today, not where you want to be tomorrow. So there's often saying we will become strong like this. No, where do you stand today so that you understand what weaknesses or strengths you have? So leverage your strengths, compensate for your weaknesses. Then opportunities are what is driving you anyway. So you study the opportunity enough, and threats may not be, you know, maybe external, or they're external factors, but things that you can't control, but you need to know that the threat is there. So I think there's a discipline on SWOT analysis that you learn over time, especially working in large companies or in reading about it. So entrepreneurs misunderstand SWOT analysis. Then comes, this whole idea about positioning, uh, competitive analysis. All of these things come up because, again, X and Y axis positioning is one way. Where do you fit relative to the others? And, in business schools, we were taught how does Mercedes position itself against Ford? It's not comparable. They are in a different quadrant of that X and Y thing. Mercedes is only competing with BMW or with Porsche, that kind of thing. So you have to
yeah.
understand that a little bit more. Then you get into other strategies that have come in the industry of uh, blue ocean, how to separate yourself from. So these are formulaic techniques that can be applied, that don't get applied. And if you apply them, somebody taught me one thing. He says, if you torture the data, it will speak, right? So when you pressure test it, it will squeal and you will find some things there that are not obvious. So that's what happens. And so from that, what happens is you get to saying, okay, don't boil the ocean. Here's what you can do, or here's one thing you can do, or here's the adjacent things you can do. And that becomes a product. And then you get into the market fit, which has to do with now how are you going to validate this thing? Okay.
Yeah.
And validation can be of two kinds. One is build a product and go sell it and validate. That's a very expensive proposition. But the other is a lot of entrepreneurs fail to validate enough. And validation can be just conversations, but not two conversations or three conversations at a Starbucks with a good friend who's already convinced that you are onto something good.
Yeah.
You validate with what you don't know. Validate with people that you don't know as well, who are going to give you brutally honest answer, even if they won't be your customer. So validation also is a very underestimated but very heavy lift that one needs to do, and you need to convince investors, founders, to take the time to validate, because validation is a conversation. So figure out who your ideal customer profile is,
Yeah.
and talk to not 2, 3, 10, 15, 20 of them
Yeah.
for 20 minutes and say, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Would you care to give me your feedback? This is what I'm thinking of. This is what I end up coaching them or guiding them and even telling them how to do validation. I don't do it for them. I could, but that would mean domain expertise or it may take more time and from my side.
So what about the influence of AI? The LLMs, the RAGs, all that stuff. I mean, I know that's farther down the line, right? I mean, what even in terms of yeah,
Well,
how is that influencing this your business model?
okay, it's a good question. One is, of course, that most of the opportunities that come my way in this era of AI is somebody wants to use AI in some way to improve a workflow. Or so obviously that is the starting point that what do you want to do? I want to, use AI. Now, so I do two or three things with respect to AI. I use AI myself for this work that I just described to you in a bit, which is that I can, if you're an entrepreneur talking to me, I could sit down and my first, so I generally say, let's have 4 meetings over a month. Each meeting will be about an hour, or it's not limited to an hour, it can be 2 hours. But at the end of that meeting, uh, then before the next meeting a week later, I will create a folder and I will send you information, my research information, and all that stuff. And then we'll have the follow on meeting on the next step up and up and up till you get to a point of a comfort zone or comfort of saying, yes, you have a go, no go decision. Usually it's not to discourage you from doing something, but to encourage you to do it in a certain way and leave you at that point saying, I started here, but I'm ending to go forward this way. Now, you could be my entrepreneur and I have that interview with you, the 1 hour. Now, after this 1 hour, I tell them that, look, for every hour I spent with you, I may spend between 5 to 10 hours of my own time to further drill down into what you're saying. Think of me as a colleague or a resource. So obviously I use AI for that purpose, that I can talk to you for 15, 20, for an hour, codify that information into a prompt and go into ChatGPT or AI and say, tell me more about this. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's prompting by me and I'll get the answers back. And I may say, I mean, I can't say what's the SWOT analysis, but I can say, these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses, what can we do to mitigate them?
Yeah.
And so it'll give me an answer back. I know that AI is forced to answer everything. So I know that 80%, 90%, or 70% of is good and 30% is not relevant. That's my experience. So I can separate the wheat from the chaff, kind of thing. And then further prompt it through. So I can do it in front of you as my entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur could say, really, you're using AI? Yeah, I said, I told you I'll use 5 to 10 hours of my time to understand this further. It only takes 2 minutes for me to write the prompt, but it takes me more time to understand it. And sometimes I tell them, they go, well, I could have done it myself. Yeah, why don't you? I'm not stopping you from it. Why don't you? Did you? No, actually, I was very convinced in my mind. I talked to my friend at Starbucks, and my friend said, this is a great idea, just do it. You know? So I don't mean to say they're that naive, but I think there's a tendency to get blindsided. And if somebody else is doing that work for you, it helps. And yes, I use AI for that purpose. Now, the other part of that is that invariably in the analysis of that project, how will AI help that product or that project is an analysis I do. And I have a CTO, friend of mine or a colleague of mine. So Miguel will just look at that idea and apply where AI is applicable to it and where are the uh, issues that will come up with AI, which could be the runaway costs of the tokens or how the LLMs will behave. where could be the security issues, where could be the exfiltration issues, those kind of issues. Miguel can really quantify them and also describe what can be done to mitigate those if the project wants to go forward. So at the end of that, AI plays a very big role, and what we end up giving to the customer or my client would be at the end of 4 weeks or 5 weeks, however long, 4, 5, 6 weeks maximum. We end up giving them a very well documented set of documents that have analyzed this issue week to week to week, maybe a summarized document of all of that, and we can give them what is called a product requirements document, PRD. Okay, this is a requirement. Do you accept this requirement? This is has come out of your thinking and our analysis that this is the requirements you want to get built. Yes, 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 then go build it. Or if you want us to take it the next step, which is the second phase of the project, which is getting closer to decision, would be the idea that, okay, then if you want to engineer this product, you need an engineering requirements document, which Miguel and I can put together, mostly Miguel, but he'll create an engineering requirements document, very thorough document saying, give it to an engineering team and say, this is what we want to get built and give me a proposal. Okay. And if they want to build it, that's the execution phase. And if they want to execute that, then we can say, okay, fine, we'll introduce you to an execution team that we know, that we have used ourselves, or you can go find others. We have no stake in that execution. Okay, we don't want to take responsibility for execution. We used to last year, but we decided that we don't have the breadth of doing that. So execution phase will introduce you to qualified teams or go find your own. I mean, in some case, it may turn out that we will get deeply involved in the execution, but it hasn't happened so far. It happened last year, but I've withdrawn from that idea. And the other thing is, next after that comes funding. How do you fund it? Some of it is you fund it out of your own pocket. Some could be you build this one, and then where do you get your seed funding, your $250,000 check or a $2 million check? Because I come from the VC background, I can help there. Not my money, but other people's money. I can help. But I can only help if I know what I'm trying to pitch for somebody, on behalf of somebody.
Right.
So I have to be convinced.
Yeah. So, Prem, so does this decision execution model, or helping
Framework, yeah.
domain experts know if their software should exist before spending money? I mean, is this a trend is this something new, or is this just a twist of something? I mean, what do you see in the industry with
Well,
this model, or perhaps others? What do you see in the industry?
yeah, it's not a trend or it's nothing new. It's a twist, if you will, but it is coming from the point of view of the venture capitalists. It's coming from the point of view of the investors. It's coming from the point of view
Yeah.
that uh, for the founder, the important thing is, you don't get many chances to do
Right.
these things over and over again. So do it wisely. Failure is not a bad thing,
Right.
but uh, also do it wisely. Spend your money wisely. I'm not
Yeah.
discouraging you from not doing it. It's a great
Yeah.
idea, and you're brilliant if you have come up with an idea, and but do it wisely because you're doing it not for the sake of you're doing it because ultimately any of these ideas are not going to turn into lifestyle businesses. They are really going to require funding,
Yeah.
modest or large amount of funding, and there are things required. So you have to have the sense that why are you doing this, and how will you explain that to the investor? Whether the investor is friends and family, or whether the investor is a seed round investor, but you're going to have to explain it. And so the faster you can learn the vocabulary of the business, the faster you will begin to think this way. And this is also what you can communicate internally to your team. The idea there is that I think there's a rush to decision making without
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
the consequence of that decision. And what happens is that that decision leads you to momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum leads you to inability to undo what you have done.
Yeah.
And that ends up costing you money.
Yeah.
Okay? Ego, money, embarrassment,
A risk.
confusion, the risk. So
Yeah.
what happens is that pause and then decide and then do it right and be able to communicate that to your team does not at all guarantee that things won't go wrong.
Yeah.
But you will have a little bit better sense of why are you doing this. There could be a folder sitting on your computer that you can go back and read and say, okay, let me go back to read what Prem and I did 2 months ago. Oh, now I understand. That makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
there's an element of that. And they can come back to me for more. The GTM, go to market. Okay, we can talk about going to market and how to narrow down the market or define what is the market you're going after, A, B, and C,
Right.
quantifying the market, because these are the things that investors will look for eventually.
Yeah.
And if you can't answer that and say, give me the money and if you build it, they'll come, it won't work that way.
Yeah. I just think it's a great concept. Of course, I mean, it's been around, but I mean, just yeah, executing right on it. But so I'm just curious, so if I were, your ideal, customer and I didn't know you yet, where would I first hear about you?
Well, that's a very good question, and always worries me too. I mean, I am, of course, quite active on LinkedIn, promoting this idea to this framework. So
Yeah.
I'm always giving these 30-minute clips or doing podcasts with you. But I'm just in each of them, I'm basically saying, look, I'm here. If you notice me, book a meeting
Yeah.
and let's just talk about it. And if it makes sense, then I can give you a proposal. But book a meeting, no problem. It's on my LinkedIn profile. Schedule a meeting, book a meeting. So do it right there, linked through Calendly. I love to talk about these things because, I think it's lonely out there to be an entrepreneur. And so it's not, uh, don't hesitate to have a chat with somebody like me. I'm not stealing any idea. I'm happy to give you feedback or tell you it's not for me. Okay,
Yeah.
I can't help you. I mean, if somebody wants to build a dog collar, it's not something I can do, to help them with that, But that's what. So you can find me on LinkedIn primarily. Uh, I don't have any else. I do have some outbound activity, newsletters, and things like that. I would say I could do more of that. I could get more business, but I'm also content with having one or two projects a month because keep in mind, I'm having 5 meetings, and each meeting maybe between 10 to 5 to 10 hours I'm spending on each hour. There's only so much I can do. I don't want 10 projects like this concurrently. 2 projects, 3 max, one handled by Miguel while I'm doing this thing back and forth. That's plenty for us.
Yeah.
But
So
we're not filling
what are
the,
some of your wins?
huh? Pardon? Pardon? What did you
What
say?
what are as far as some big wins? What or some
Well,
wins that you want to point out any wins that
yeah.
for the audience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we did have a situation where I mean, last year I did something in the legal industry, but that was a product development. But we had a project in a separate aspect of legal where we did uh, the analysis that I talked about. And the result of that was that I gave them considerable amount of feedback on what they were doing. They were a little further along into the process, so the decision had already been made by them, but there was some uh, weaknesses, if you will, that I was able to uncover. So it was a smaller project, but very useful to them and very satisfying to me that I was able to pressure test in spite of the decision and uncover certain roadblocks in technology as well as in going forward. So that was one win. The other one was in the area of, which is still going on, is in the area of a set of people that came to me through the network and wanted to validate or ideate over something in the security space for
Cyber, cyberspace,
cyber,
security.
right?
Yeah,
And their product was around the concern of exfiltration of proprietary information,
yeah.
uh,
IP.
IP, which could be
Yeah,
your source code, it could be your proprietary documents, how they
right.
exfiltrate in this age of AI.
Yeah,
And that was that was and is very interesting. I mean, it's still going on, but it's very interesting. And there too, uh, it started with one line of thinking that, oh, anyway, I won't go into the details of what we were talking about, but
right.
it changed.
Yeah,
It changed for the better, and the founders felt very comfortable with what they got. And in that particular case, to be honest, I think the founders uh, might have actually convinced themselves not to do it because it turns out to be bigger than what they had envisioned it to be. And the point was that they thought a few software proof of concepts will get the job done, but the competitive analysis showed that there was quite a bit already happening in that space, so you would have to get above that. So that's an example, but it's not given up. We're still massaging and pressure testing. Uh, Now there's another one likely that I am talking to somebody about, and that is around the area of uh, very crowded space, in my opinion, but unique idea they have around the notion of lead generation and uh, uh, automating lead generation. So, as crowded as it is, and as much as I've myself painfully used it, they seem to have something interesting that I'm willing to investigate for them. So that's it. Yeah, but more will come like that. No problem.
yeah.
You'll help me find some, Mark.
Yeah, I can certainly help you do that. Yeah, in fact, I was just going to ask you, the next one was just in terms of, challenges, not so much challenges as, if there were three things that could, fix or automate, in your business right now, what would they be? You kind of touched on one earlier as far as, when we talked about, if I was your ideal customer, how would I find out about you, right? You kind of touched on maybe
Yeah.
doing that. But yeah, what are a couple of things you'd like to, that you'd like to fix or automate, in your business right now?
Well, I thank you for asking, and I think that even this is a work in progress, and you have to keep improving. One of the things that I've not mentioned in my website, but I think what I would like to include is that my strength in putting together a presentation for venture capitalists
Yeah,
is not mentioned there because I don't take you into the funding side of the cycle. But I think that that's a understated capability I have, and I find myself helping. Not that I can get you a perfect deck, but I know how many bad decks get made and you
yeah,
get turned down just because the VC didn't get it. And you walk into a venture capital meeting thinking that they walk on water and they know everything. They do know a lot, but they only have 30 minutes to quickly determine, and they don't know everything. So you have to figure out how to catch their attention, how to simplify the message. And a lot of entrepreneurs go in thinking that I've got to impress them with technology. I know, I think you have to impress them with your grasp of the pain. So there's a skill I have there.
I like that.
Maybe it's an innate skill that I haven't mentioned very much of. So that would be one thing I'd like to exploit, if you will, or get across. Otherwise, other than that, there are certain areas like I would like to get involved more in validation, meaning helping my clients talk to customers and validate. Because I did this a lot in my VC days, okay,
Yeah.
2012 to 2020. So I have some ability to network out and validate, but that takes time. It
Yeah.
takes energy. So that would be complementary project I can take on, but that would mean time and money. Uh, and the third could be, so I mentioned funding, and the third could be, yes, go back to execution with a known good partner.
Hmm.
Okay, so maybe get back into execution, but
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think my first ask would be if I can get more people calling in to schedule a meeting and talk to me. I think if I can get initial half hour free meetings saying, let's talk. What are you trying to do and how can I help you? I think I can have success in converting some of them into, okay, Prem, let's do a 5 weeks with you. Okay. Even pricing is not an issue for me. I think people understand the value of advice they get. And it's not zero, it can't be free. And they understand somebody of my stature or whatever is not going to do it for free. But I don't have any hesitation in helping anybody out. Okay.
Yeah.
And how I get compensated? Monetary, equity, not only equity because the project is not even new. Now, if somewhere down the road it is some of the calls coming in are more around go to market and things of that nature, then of course I can take an advisory role and things like that as well. So I'm tweaking work in progress. I'm work in progress myself.
Yeah. I tell you, aren't we all?
Yeah,
Um,
aren't we all? Yeah.
yeah. I tell you what, this has been great. Someone with your experience, your authority, successes, and just really appreciate you sharing, your insights.
Yeah,
And
you're most welcome. And I think the point I would say is that entrepreneurs and often get blindsided by being over convinced about what they're doing and not validate. So they validate what they know, but they don't
yeah,
validate what they don't know. And the whole idea of
that's a
validation is to
really good
find out
point.
what you don't know. Okay?
Yeah.
What you know. And you can validate by even asking your friends, and you can meet at Starbucks and coffee and all that, and you'll convince yourself, yeah, I told you, this is a great idea. Let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. I'll help you. What you don't know is the blind sides, blind corners. What's around the corner? Who's working on what? And that can only happen in collab. The other thing is it's lonely, and don't try to do it alone. Please have a collaborator with you. Please have somebody who can even challenge your thinking, somebody who's got some gravitas to tell you, hey, you're not only one doing this thing. Be careful. Or this is what could be done better or differently. Have you thought about this? If not, I don't know, but I can validate it for you. This kind of thing.
Yeah.
So validate what you don't know. This is most important because changing execution mid-course is very expensive and very painful, and it is affects your ego, it affects your team, it affects your sunk cost. And I'm huge fan of saying that it's so much better to validate without spending a lot of money by
Right.
saying let's build the product and then find out it failed and then tweak it. The sense that we will fix it as we go is be careful about that. You can improve it as you go, but
Right.
fixing means redoing it.
Yeah.
That's
You want to find those losers early on.
yeah.
right, and validating that. So yeah, but this
Yeah,
has been so.
incredible. Yeah,
Once I get once we compile the podcast conversations here, I'll send you over a a summary that should be really interesting.
yeah.
And
So
so
Mark, you're doing an amazing work too. You are also promoting folks like us and your own self, and you know, we're in it to do good by our clients.
yes, we are.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's about it's selling to help. I mean, that's what we're doing
Yeah,
is
selling that.
yeah,
Yeah,
just understanding what their needs are and making their problem yours,
yeah, yeah,
and then sitting along the side alongside them
yeah,
and coming up with solutions, and
yeah,
then help them decide.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes yeah, even indecision comes in. That after all this, you're sitting on your hands. You say, come on,
Yeah,
time is invaluable because this problem will go away if you don't solve it. So
yeah,
so sometimes I need a little nudge to say, now that you've done all this work, it looks like you're onto something, get on with it. And is it money? Then let's talk about how to help you raise money. Even, you know, small amount with safe rounds.
yeah, and then help them, but also then help them decide which ones, right? I mean, so.